I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you're listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 282. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. You know what? I work with people all over the world. Is that amazing? It's amazing to me. I just finished a call with someone in Pakistan. That's really far away. And it is such a miracle in this day and age that we can do this. I don't have to leave my house to help somebody anywhere in the whole world. Wow. That's all I have to say about that. And what I want to talk about today is something that we were talking about a little bit, but it's something that I talk a lot about, and that is urges and desires. I really want to talk about that a little bit more in detail today because this is what I think. I think that if you can have an urge, which is really just a desire, or it's like a vibration in your body that feels very urgent that you have to do something. And you can have an urge or a desire. You can have it for food. You can have it for social media. You can have it for getting on the internet or checking your email. That's me, urges with the email. I'm really working on what I'm going to teach you today is how to feel urges, how to allow urges so that you actually can get stronger. And, as I'm talking about this, I'm going to segue just a little bit because I was also visiting with my mom, whom had a birthday not too long ago. And I love spending time with her. She's just turned 92. And she really is my inspiration. She's my role model. And seriously, there's nobody in this world that loves me as much as she does. And the older she gets and the older I get, the more I love her and the more she loves me. Love is an amazing, amazing thing. And as the Beatles said, all there is love. You know what? It's true. But one of the things that she was saying to me that I want to share with you as I start to talk about urges is basically every time I walk into the room, this is the first thing that she says to me, and I want you to hear me. She'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You look so skinny and you've kept your weight off." Now, my weight has been off for a really long time now. I don't know, 8, 9 years. Every time I walk in the room, that's the first thing that she says. When we were talking a couple days ago, I just said to her, I said, "Are you aware that every time you see me, the first thing you always say to me is something about my weight and how great it is that I'm keeping it off?" And she said, "No, I'm really not aware I say that every single time." I said, "Well, you do." And I said, "Do you know why?" Now, I want you to hear her response because, she's a little forgetful. I will tell you that, but she's also deep and she is right on board with you and as present as anybody can be. So here is her answer to me. She looks at me and she says, "You know what? I just know how much you suffered with your weight. And every time I see you and I see your body, and how it stays the same," she said, "how thin you are all the time, I'm just so happy for you because I know how much you wanted it." Now, we're both older by now, and she is really referring to so much of my life, especially when I was younger, where I struggled so much with my weight, and she was so aware of it. And so she was talking to me about that she knew how much I struggled and she didn't want to focus on it. And she didn't want to say anything to me. She would always just say, this is what she was saying in this conversation with me. I just focused on how beautiful you were and how beautiful your hair was and how smart you were. She said, I would never say anything about your weight. But here's the thing. Even then, I think I knew that's what was going on. But the problem is I was so focused on my weight that even if she didn't say anything about it, I always thought she was thinking about it. That's the problem of how you think about yourself. When people say or do things to you, they trigger your own insecurities, which is kind of what my mom was doing when I was younger. She was trying so hard to strengthen me and build me up. But all I could think about is she just sees how fat I am and she doesn't want to say anything. And in some regards, that's kind of true. But what I'm imparting to you today as I teach you about these urges is that I really did struggle. And even as far along as I am right now and all the teaching that I do forget how much I did struggle. And when my mom says it to me, she almost says it like, because she's my mom and she wanted me to be happy and she knew that I wasn't. Even though it's 50 years later, she realizes that it took a lot of work on my end. And she's so proud and she's so happy for me to know that I'm not struggling with it anymore. That's the first thing that she thinks about and sees every time that she visits with me. And on top of it, this is what she said too, because she listens to most of my podcasts. She loves my podcast. Nobody loves my podcast as much as my mom. Isn't that like amazing? It's so cute. So we listen to my podcast together and she's like my cheerleader when it comes to that. But she said this to me. She says, you figured it out for yourself. And the most amazing thing is to see that you're now teaching other people what you learned how to do for yourself, because nobody knows how much of a struggle it is than you did because you struggled with it. And she knows that. And I want you to hear that it really was a struggle. It really, really upset me. It really blew my world away of what I made, what the weight on my body meant about me. The struggle was really about finding peace with myself, with my body. And when I finally figured it out at age 50, which was a whole lot of years later than what she's talking about, one of the things that I had to learn is, number one, how to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. I tell you every single time that was the most amazing thing for me to learn how to do, or to even know that that was a thing. But if you're going to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, that means that when you feel like you want to keep eating, or you want to eat when you're not hungry, you have what I call urges or desires. And I feel so powerful right now because, number one, they're not that strong anymore when it comes from food, because I have built a muscle around urges. Like many of you may have done weight training, maybe your biceps are really sculpted, or your legs, or you have a belly that's maybe sculpted. But you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about building muscle and you're using weights to do it. It's not like you can just lift a weight one time and you got a muscle. You got to kind of be very, very consistent, do it over time, increase the weights. You have to have a little bit of a system. But what happens is the more you do it, the stronger you get and the more muscle you build. And I want to compare that to the idea of how you strengthen your own resolve around urges. Because when you have an urge for anything, and I always use potato chips as one of the things that was something I always thought I wanted. Like, I really believe that if I could just eat potato chips whenever I wanted, life would be wonderful. And I know a lot of you think the same thing, that you could just eat whatever you wanted, bonbons, chocolate chip cookies, ice cream, anytime, whenever you wanted, all you wanted, then life would be grand. But really, the truth is, and I can tell you this from working with many, many clients, and myself included, that what happens is that when you learn how to handle an urge about anything, But we're talking about food right now. So for me, it was chips. It wasn't just chips. It was alcohol. It was all kinds of things. Cheetos, Fritos, all the Eatos. I still eat them. I just don't have any urges around them, and I don't use them to make myself feel better. I can eat them, enjoy them, and stop, which is exactly what I want you to do. Very hard to do that if you're actually giving in to an urge. So you have this desire or you have this urge, and what I teach and what I'm talking to you about right now is that when you feel it, your little brain says there's potato chips in the kitchen, and you start feeling that vibration in your body of wanting it. Now, you may want it a lot, and I always call how much you want it is your negative emotional hunger scale. So it can be from a 0 to a negative 10. You're like out of the couch before you can even think potato chips, and you're in your pantry eating them. I mean, maybe that's like a strong negative 8 or 9. Or maybe you're just sitting there and your brain's just going like, maybe a few potato chips would be good. No, I don't want those. Not, maybe, but it's light. And you're playing with the idea a little bit. It's still an urge. It's lighter. Maybe like a negative 4, negative 5. Whatever they are, think of it as one. When you give into it and you are not allowing it, when you are giving into it, you are strengthening your brain to want to be rewarded by food. And you're making yourself weaker or powerless against the food, because that's what happens is when you give into urges for whatever food you're giving into, you're believing that you're powerless. The more you give into an urge, the more you eat these foods, the stronger your brain gets about reward, and the more powerless you feel. But this is what I want to offer you, and this is what I want you to think about very strongly today, because there is nothing more freeing. When my mom said to me that to have watched me struggle, that was the struggle, that I thought I was powerless against all of this food that I thought I wanted and needed to eat to feel better. And yet when I ate it, it gave me a body I didn't want that made me feel worse. And my mom saw that struggle in me, on my body, and she sees that it's gone. And she's so happy for me. And this is what I want for you. This is what I teach. This is what I'm meant to do because I went through it. And I know how good it feels. And I want you to feel this good. And the way that you end up feeling better is you strengthen. Now listen to me. You act like this is a muscle of this urge. And when you give into the urge, you weaken yourself. When you give into it, you feel powerless. You feel like the food has more power over you. But when you feel that urge, no matter how strong it is, and you allow it. Now, there's a difference between allowing it and resisting it. Allowing it means you feel it. This is what an urge feels like. It doesn't feel good. You're not trying to get away from it. You are feeling it all the way through until it goes away. Every time you do that, you are strengthening a muscle. And the way you strengthen this urge muscle is by allowing it over and over and over again until it gets the urge weaker and weaker and weaker. And you get stronger and stronger and stronger, and you end up feeling powerful. You want your power back? You want to believe that food doesn't control you? You want to believe that you can trust yourself around any food? Then learning how to feel an urge. And believe me, an urge means urgent. It feels like you gotta do it. But when you don't, and you let it go through, and you don't eat, and you don't fulfill that urge, you just got a little bit stronger. It's like you lifted weights for the first time. Like you go, oh my gosh, I can do it. And then you go back again and you do your next training class. The next training class for you is the next time you have an urge or desire. So it's almost like you start looking forward to the things that you know. that might create it. Because listen, an urge or a desire does not come from the food itself. It comes from the thought that is triggered by the food. For instance, there's potato chips for me, and then there's the thought that I have to have them. I love them. I mean, it was a strong thought that created this strong feeling of urgency that I needed it. Or maybe the urge was like, this will make me feel so much better. The thought, this will make me feel so much better, which creates the urge, the urgency to just go eat it so I can feel better. But whenever I do that, I end up becoming powerless. I lose my power. I don't gain power. The way I gain my power is by not eating it, but feeling it. Feeling the urge all the way through. The more you feel the urge all the way through, number one, your brain stops thinking it needs to be rewarded because it's not being rewarded. Number two, you start thinking you're stronger because you're building up that muscle of allowing that feeling to go through without putting something in your mouth. That is something that I did. It's something that I teach. It is teachable. And listen, urges aren't the only feelings, but an urge is a feeling. So is boredom. So is restlessness. There are a lot of feelings like this that are coming from thoughts that are creating this urgency to eat something when you're not hungry with no fuel value. On the next podcast that I do, I want to talk to you about the difference between a joy eat and a fog eat. Because when you're doing a true mindful joy eat and it's planned and you're thinking about it, rarely will you have an urge, right? It's so interesting that when it's planned, the urge isn't there. And when it's not planned, that's when the urge will usually come in. And that's why I teach it so strongly. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more on the next podcast about how to handle joy eats. What's the difference between a joy eat and a joy fog eat, and giving into urges and allowing urges. So for today, what I hope you understand and took away from this is that an urge by itself, it's not a bad thing. It just feels uncomfortable. But the more that you can feel that discomfort, the stronger you become. It's like you're strengthening a muscle. Think of it as the urge muscle. The more you allow it, the stronger and more powerful you get. And the more you take away the thought is that I can trust myself. Food doesn't control me. I decide what goes in my mouth. Those are all the thoughts that can come as you get stronger. So listen, practice, 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 because this is really, really important, because the way I feel, the way my mom felt when she was looking at me and talking about this, to not have that struggle anymore is a blessing. It's possible for you too. I want it for you. This urge muscle, being able to get stronger and feel powerful, is paramount. Practice, practice, practice this week. And of course, no matter what else you do, if you give in to the urge or not, you must be very, very kind to yourself no matter what. And I will still see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.